Hold one note down and leave it there. Now build a chord on top of it, and then nudge just one or two of the upper notes by a single key in either direction. That tiny adjustment, while the bottom note never moves at all, completely changes what the chord feels like. It can sound happy, or sad, or nervous, or floating and unresolved, and the only thing that changed was the spacing above a note that stayed put the whole time. That is the idea this whole lesson rests on. In the last lesson we built a triad by stacking thirds. You take a root, skip a key to land on the third, then skip another to land on the fifth. 3 notes, 2 thirds, 1 chord. But here's the part nobody tells you up front. There isn't just one way to stack those thirds. A triad is just 3 notes stacked in thirds, a bottom note, a middle note, and a top note. But depending on exactly how far apart you space those notes, you get one of 4 distinct flavors, and those 4 are the entire family. Just 4. Learn these and you've learned the basic emotional palette behind nearly every chord you've ever heard. Once you can hear and build all 4, you understand the basic emotional vocabulary of nearly every chord in Western music, from a nursery rhyme to a film score. So we're going to keep the bottom note glued to see the whole way through, and change only what we stack on top, so you can hear each flavor land against the same root. Same anchor for different feelings. Let's start with the one your ear already knows, the major triad, the sound of resolved, uncomplicated happiness. This is the chord at the end of almost every cheerful song, the one that feels like everything has arrived safely home. To build it precisely we measure in semitones, where one semitone is just the very next key, black or white, the smallest move on the piano. Begin on C, our root, the note that stays put for the rest of this lesson. From C, count up for semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you land on E. Notice you jump right over the black keys on the way, because we're counting every key, not just the white ones. That gap, for semitones, is a major third, and it's the bright, open interval that gives the chord its sunny character. It's the single sound that most defines happy in Western music. Now from that E, count up 3 more semitones, and you arrive at G, which sits a perfect 5th above the root and acts like a sturdy floor under the whole chord. So the recipe for any major triad is simple: for semitones, then 3. A bigger third on the bottom, a smaller one on top. Sound all 3 together, C, E, and G, and you hear the most stable, contented chord in music, the one that feels like a full stop at the end of a sentence. Remember that shape, for then 3, because every other triad we build is just a small bend of it. We're going to take this exact chord and move one note at a time. Now keep the root exactly where it is, on C, and keep the top note, G, exactly where it is too. We're going to move only the middle note, the one note that was giving us all that brightness. Take that E in the center and slide it down by a single semitone, onto the black key just to its left, which is E flat. That's it. 1 key. Listen to what happens. The brightness drains out of the chord and it turns sad, or at least serious and shadowed, the color of a rainy afternoon instead of a sunny one. That is the minor triad, C, E flat, and G. It's the other half of music's emotional core, the sound behind countless ballads and laments and anything that aches a little. Count the gaps now and you'll see the recipe has flipped. From C up to E flat is only 3 semitones, a minor third, the smaller, darker version of that interval. And from E flat up to G is 4 semitones. So minor is 3 semitones, then 4, the exact mirror image of major. The 2 intervals simply swap places, the small third moved to the bottom and the big one moved on top. One note moved 1 key, the root never budged, the outer shell of the chord stayed identical, and yet the whole mood inverted from light to dark. That middle note is the switch that flips happy to sad. Here's something worth noticing before we go further. So far our 2 chords both end on the same top note, G, a perfect 5th above the root, and that solid, stable 5th is a big part of why both of them feel grounded and settled. The major and the minor are different moods, but they're both at peace. Now let's break that peace. Start from the minor triad we just built, C, E flat, and G, and this time leave the middle note alone and move the top note down a semitone, from G onto the black key just below it, which is G flat. Keep the root on C, keep the middle note on E flat, and only the top has shifted, one key down. Hear how unsettled that is. The stable fifth is gone, and the chord can no longer relax. It sounds tense, pinched, anxious, like it's leaning hard on something and desperate to resolve to somewhere else. That is the diminished triad, C, E flat, and G flat. Composers use it to create suspense, that prickling feeling that something is about to happen. Look at the spacing, and the pattern is beautifully tidy. From C to E flat is 3 semitones, and from E flat to G flat is another 3 semitones. 3 then 3, 2 minor third stacked dead even, identical small steps the whole way up. And it's that perfect symmetry, that absolute evenness, that gives your ear nothing solid to rest on, which is exactly what makes it feel so restless and unstable. There's one combination left, and it's the elegant mirror of the diminished chord. This time we go back to the bright major triad, C, E, and G, the happy one, and instead of lowering the top note, we raise it. Push the G up a single semitone onto G sharp, the black key just above it. The root stays on C, the major third stays on E, and only the top note climbs, one key higher. The result is strange and lovely. It doesn't sound happy and it doesn't sound sad, it sounds dreamy, suspended, like a question with no answer, like floating with nothing underneath you. This is the kind of chord film composers reach for when something uncanny or magical is about to happen, a dream sequence, a moment of wonder. That is the augmented triad, C, E, and G sharp. And the spacing is the exact partner to the diminished chord. From C to E is 4 semitones, and from E to G sharp is 4 more. For then 4, 2 major thirds stacked dead even. So we have 2 symmetrical chords now, 2 perfectly even stacks. The diminished one is built from small thirds, squeezed tight and tense. The augmented one is built from big thirds, just as symmetrical as the diminished chord, but stretched wide instead of squeezed tight, and that stretch is what gives it that weightless, open, dreaming quality. Now line all 4 up side by side, every one of them built on the very same root, C, so the only difference your ear hears is the stacking above it. This is where it all clicks into a single picture. Major is 4 semitones then 3, bright and resolved, the happy one. Minor is 3 then 4, darker and more serious, the sad one. Diminished is 3 then 3, tense and unstable, the anxious one. Augmented is 4 then 4, dreamy and floating, the uncanny one. Look at how neat that is. Every triad is just 2 thirds stacked, and the only question is whether each third is big or small, 4 or 3. There are exactly 4 ways to combine those, and so there are exactly 4 triads. Play them in that order against the held root and you can hear the character morph step by step, from sunlight, to shadow, to anxiety, to a kind of weightless dream, and through all of it the bottom note never moved an inch. That is the whole point of this lesson in a single comparison. The root is your anchor, and the 2 notes you stack above it are the dials that set the emotion. So there they are, the 4 triad types, for completely different colors conjured from one simple shape, 2 thirds stacked on a root. Major and minor are the 2 you'll meet most often, by a wide margin, the everyday happy and sad of harmony, the bread and butter of pretty much every song. Diminished and augmented are the spice, the tense and the dreamy, used more sparingly but absolutely unmistakable when they arrive, and now you'll start hearing them everywhere. And the deep idea underneath all of it, the thing worth carrying with you, is that emotion in a chord comes from spacing, from how far apart you place those upper notes, not from the root itself. The root just tells you which chord it is. The spacing tells you how it feels. Next time we'll take a single one of these chords and, without changing a single note in it, rearrange which note sits on the bottom. You'll find that the same 3 notes can wear 3 different faces, and that small move is how chords flow smoothly from one to the next.